I really hate the dentist, and I sure didn't think I'd like a Yankee dentist, but you're pretty good for both of those. And I said, that was the best compliment I could have ever received.
Way back when I was in residency, we partnered with the VA, and I turn around and he has a balloon animal made for me.
Some of my very favorite patient interactions that I hope stay with me forever. One is from residency. Join Drs. Savanah Craig and Ronnetta Sartor as we navigate life beyond graduation. Real conversations about forging our own paths in our early years in our careers. There's a reason it's called practicing dentistry. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Beyond Graduation. I am Savanah Craig, and with me as always,
I am Ronnetta Sartor, and it's good to be back with you guys.
So this week, we thought we would talk about some of our best or most impactful or positive patient experiences. It can be super easy to get in the weeds, and we see hundreds of patients a month, but the tough ones, the hard ones are always going to stick out. It's easy to overlook the positive impact we're having on the people around us. So we thought we would try to shed some light on some of the good and positive experiences we've had throughout our careers. What's your thoughts on all of this, Ronnetta?
I think because as we're recording this, it's January, so everyone's new year, new you type thing. But having finished the year 2024 recently and stepping into 2025, I think most people have done a lot of reflecting, and I think it's a really good way for us to start 2025, just reflecting on what we're grateful for from our patients and using that to be our guiding light as we move forward with patient care. So what would you say stands in your mind as maybe the best or top 3 experiences that you've had with patients?
Yeah. So like I was telling you before we started recording, I started in residency actually keeping a list. It's just labeled things that went well in clinic today because I started it in residency, but I continue forward with it now. And it's anything from just older patient is super excited to have his smile back for his grandkids, anywhere to, immediate implant and sinus bump with great soft tissue development in 1.5 hours. So it's anything from clinical stuff to just things that I'm proud of. And when things get hard, it's nice to be able to look at this. And it's funny to look back at what was super positive and impactful in residency to now. So it makes me very happy to look back on those things. But I think some of my very favorite patient interactions that I hope stay with me forever. One is from residency, and you'll get a kick out of all of this. So we love South Carolina, but as you can hear from just the podcast, Ronnetta has a really cool accent and I do not. And South Carolina people are very proud of where they're from, and they love South Carolina. So being from Pennsylvania/Ohio, that was a fun challenge that I didn't expect in residency. I expected people to maybe be upset that I was, or concerned that I was young, maybe even that I was female. But I had a patient who, upon first meeting, says to me, "Are there no good Southern dentists around here?"
Oh, jeez.
I said, "Oh, okay." And my instinct to gain his trust was to really turn up my Pittsburgh accent and make fun of myself. So yins and gum band, and we just went at it from there. And eventually I earned his trust, and we did so much implant work. And by the end of the year in residency, he looked at me and he said, we were saying our goodbyes and you're going to have a new resident and all of those things. And he said to me, I really hate the dentist, and I sure didn't think I'd like a Yankee dentist, but you're pretty good for both of those. And I said, that was the best compliment I could have ever received.
You won him over.
I won him over on so many fronts, and he brought me boiled peanuts. That was my first time I'd ever had boiled peanuts. And I did not like them, and I was
You did?
I did not like them, and I was telling our attendings, I said, I don't know if this was a gift or if he meant, like, if this was backhanded, because they were not good.
Oh, man.
That's one of my favorites.
I think you brought up a lot of valid points, right? Like, because I can't say that I've had anyone say that they wanted a northern dentist or anything like that.
Well, look where you practice.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. But with that being said, I think it's always those stories of someone who's really, really, really afraid of the dentist or has some sort of negative experience in the past, or just have a negative outlook on you as a person. And when you're
or where you're from.
Right. And you can't help where you're from, right? That just ends up being those stories that stand out most.
Yeah. It was, again, the best compliment I could receive. And people are going to write it and not believe that story, but you know that is true. You know, without a doubt, that there are people like that in the great state of South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. They're some of my favorites. I think one of the funniest things that's ever happened. So way back when I was in residency, we partnered with the VA. So we would see VA patients like every 6th week. For a week we would go and just do dentistry, whatever they needed. And I remember I had to extract a tooth on this veteran. And I did not know when I walked in that his side gig was that he's a clown. Like, he does parties and all this stuff. And I mean,
why would you know that?
Yeah, I didn't know. So like I'm talking to him and I've got my back turned, getting stuff to put numbing jelly and stuff in. And I turn around and he has a balloon animal made for me. And this went on the entire appointment. So by the end of the appointment, we got the tooth out successfully and everything. I probably had about 10 balloon animals. And it just wasn't a long appointment. He was really quick. I was very impressed. And so I remember just walking around asking who had children, the people that worked at the VA. Yeah. And I was like, here, take this home to him. Because what was I going to do? But he worked so hard on them. But he was doing these things in a matter of seconds. Because, you're not as fast. I mean, I wasn't as fast as I am now and efficient.
But still.
But yes, and I was just like, wow. And he was just so proud of himself and so happy to make the different things for me. Yeah, we had we hugged it out at the end because he made probably my entire VA experience.
That's so funny. Because at maximum, the whole appointment was probably an hour?
At maximum, it was an hour.
10 balloon animals per hour. And also, you're pulling his tooth, so he's busy during part of that time.
Yeah, so it will be like if I turned or I stepped to my assistant to get something, and I didn't even know where he would pull it from. So it was just like, wow, this is great. And his chair is back, and he's just doing his thing. And I'm like, I wonder if he does this on a regular, if he's just sitting home, talking to someone, if he's just multitasking.
Instead of knitting or crocheting, he's just keeping his hands busy.
I wish I had his card. I would want to hire him for some events. I bet he is probably the best clown ever.
If you know a veteran clown in South Carolina, please reach out to us. We need this reunion to happen, internet.
We do. I mean, yeah, that was great.
That's so funny. I mean, there are always strange interactions happening at any time in a dental office, but that one's so wholesome.
It sure is. Because he was, it was, I mean, I can't not look back on that and not feel the joy that, he had joy in making these animals, and I had joy just turning around and saying, "Oh, there's another one." And then the joy that we it was just,
You took care of him, he took care of you.
and I gave them to parents to give to their children
It
when they
just
got
kept
home.
the gift that kept on giving.
It kept on giving, so that was a joy fest for sure.
That is so funny, and I love that I've never heard this story from you until right now. So I got to react in real time.
Oh, gee, I just snorted. Did you hear that?
I did. That was incredible. That story deserved that,
It did.
honestly. Wow. Wow, I'm stunned. Oh, I love that. Wow. That's a good one. That's such a good one. What other good ones do you
You said
have?
what other good ones? Let's see. I think all on a day-to-day basis, just stories of patient coming in, being in pain and being able to relieve their pain.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that made me realize how great the need was in dentistry. To begin with, like, I started with my shadowing process and stuff when I was in undergrad. I went to a free clinic just to volunteer, and that's where I met my mentor. And so on a day to day, I get those same feels being able to get patients out of pain when they're in pain.
It's one of the most satisfying things we do, I think, is you're in pain, I can take this tooth out. Let's
Oh,
make it
yeah.
happen.
More recently, it's been, last, spring, I finished the Dawson mini residency. So, but at the end of the year was kind of cool because I used all of the things that I learned, and I had a patient who had excessive wear and erosion on his teeth.
Yeah.
Um, and we checked all of the boxes. He didn't have sleep apnea, which
Okay.
was great, or any of those things. So we had to get down to the bottom of where all of the erosion was coming from. And he had a tahine habit.
Oh.
And so it can be really acidic. And so I was like, okay, well, if you're gonna spend all of the money and make the investment in doing this, we're gonna have to transform the way that you eat and how often you use that, because we could transform your smile and then eventually end up losing it again,
Yeah.
and it won't be as easy next time to fix it as it is this time. So
Not that it's easy to fix it this time, but
right, because it definitely took a
infinitely harder.
process. So that was a pretty cool one to just see my journey through the curriculum, but then putting all of the pieces together to be able to help this patient and transform his smile. And I saw his wife earlier this week, and she said, "Oh, he's just so happy with his new smile, and he's smiling all the time now,
Oh.
which he didn't used to want to smile."
Yeah.
And he's one of the funniest people that comes in the office. So it's really, and he's got a great smile and great personality.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, is he staying away from the tahine? And she was like, yes. She was like, I haven't even seen him do it like since y'all had that big talk. So just transformation from educating and all that. It's
We're
been
talking
pretty
like
cool.
tahini the spice, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you figure out that was the habit?
Just asking about diet and if he puts anything on his food.
That's such an interesting question, because I hit so hard on the beverages and, acidic beverages, sugary beverages that maybe you're not thinking about, but that's a sneaky one.
And he's pretty good at like making it and stuff too.
Okay.
Cause so it could have been some of his recipes
Yeah.
were worsening it too. And then sometimes too just cultural
Sure.
type things. Just ask, is it anything that you like to eat, that you and your family like to eat, or anything you like to cook? So it wasn't like clearly I said that we just, and we're not all the way finished, but the cosmetic part, the part that most people see, we're finished with that
Okay.
before the end of the year.
Very cool. That's exciting. One of the most impactful stories for me most recently is I had a patient that had not been to a dentist in a long time, had a lot of broken teeth, expected to come in for dentures. They knew that that's where we were heading. And on their intake form had mentioned, I have this lump under my tongue that I also would like looked at. And we take a very full series of photos and x-rays on every patient, and there was quite the mass under this patient's tongue. And just from the pictures, I knew that this was not good. And so I, ended up really giving a shout out to my team who took these really detailed photos. So I knew what I was walking into ahead of time. And was able to call the oral pathologist that we refer to and get an appointment for the patient the next day, because I really deep down knew that this was a malignancy. And so I was able to walk into the room with a plan for the patient and an appointment, and hit home that this was, yes, eventually we'll take care of these teeth, but this was a greater issue and concern. And obviously had sent the patient off and got pathology reports, and it was cancer, tongue cancer. And from there you don't know what
Right.
happens. But the patient's family member was in for a cleaning, and actually I was in sedations, but they waited until I was done to thank me for saving their family member's life, because the cancer had not spread. They had done a full head and neck dissection, obviously resected a lot of their tongue, but it had not spread. And the family member had said, had you not have had an appointment in your hand and gave it to them, they told me straight up they were never going to tell us, and they were never going to go have it looked at. And so it was just so emotional, and the patient's doing, it's a long road for sure, but they are here and it didn't spread. And the family member was just so grateful. And I just feel in those I blacked out in that moment. I have no idea what I said, honestly. I'm just so glad that I had followed my gut to make that appointment for them.
Right. Yeah.
And made that call, because as their family member has said, they would have never told anybody, and things would have got a whole lot worse. Probably a lot quicker.
Right.
And the scariest part to me is they had been going to their PCP about this lesion for a while, a couple of months, and they kept putting them on antibiotics and saying it's an infection. But I mean, it's all the signs of oral cancer, indurated, hard. So I thought for sure it had spread a lot further than it had. So that was a blessing.
I know. I mean, it's a great win all around, right?
Yeah.
For the patient first, but a win for you, even though it doesn't feel that way, a win that you followed your gut and did everything you could to get this patient the help that they needed. And then all the way down to your team for listening to the patient and getting all of the necessary information to just make it a streamlined process for you and the patient to be able to get this treated. So that's a great one. That's a great story of gratitude. And
you never want to tell someone that it's cancer, but it all worked out. And I thanked my team so much, because I don't think I would have been as, I don't know the right word, strong in my conviction of this is what this is and this is where you need to go. And we're not even going to talk about your teeth right now, because this is something more serious. Had I walked into that room unaware, I think even just like my face, I think I would have portrayed more panic and uncertainty to the patient. But I was able to take a few moments and collect myself and call the pathologist and have a plan when I met that patient. So I really shouted out my team so much that they listened to the patient. They, trust transferred that to me. They had the images that I needed to walk in prepared, and it made all the difference in the world. It's heavy.
Great.
Dentistry is heavy sometimes.
Yes, it is. But I think it brings up a valid point that in this case, your patient was going to see their primary care doctor, but it's so many other patients out there that as dentists, we are the healthcare provider that sees them the most.
Oh, yeah.
And it puts things into perspective because I bet now having you haven't had that experience, not that you didn't before, but I know every new patient's getting oral cancer exam, you know,
Absolutely.
and your patients of record, I'm sure doing it at their hygiene appointments as well, or if we take things more seriously after experiences like that and err on the side of better safe than sorry with making those referrals.
Yep. It's crazy out here. Anything from balloon animals to
That's very true. I think this is a good way for us to wrap this episode up. Such a great story, and I'm sure we could sit here for days and days and days and talk about all of the ways we're grateful for this profession and all the ways that patients and their families have showed us gratitude, reminded us why we started in this profession anyway. We would love to
Absolutely.
hear from you all. I know if I have balloon animal stories and Savanah has, her story, I can only imagine some of the best and worst case scenarios that you guys have experienced that have made you so grateful to be a part of the profession and just giving back to you in ways that are indescribable. So let us know. Reach out to us. You can find me on Instagram at Dr_Sartor.
And me at Savanah Craig DDS. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond Graduation. If you enjoyed this week's episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Connect with us on social media at Savanah Craig DDS and at Dr_Sartor. And remember, you are not alone on this journey.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Graduation, brought to you by Ignite DDS and Future Dentists. This episode was sponsored by Ignite DDS Coaching. We build self-determined futures. For more information, please reach out to the Ignite DDS team.